So I want you to take a look at your bookshelf right now. Or, your desk.
Or maybe that one specific drawer in your home office where things just go to disappear
Yeah,
entirely.
exactly. That drawer. I, I guarantee you have a stack of beautifully designed, completely empty notebooks sitting there right now.
Oh, without a doubt. Everyone does.
Right. And we buy them with the absolute best of intentions. We are fully convinced we're going to record our most profound thoughts.
Or finally start that daily journaling habit.
Exactly. But statistically, most of those pristine pages will just never see a single drop of ink.
Never. It's actually a super common behavioral loop.
It is. Hoarding these notebooks, it's almost like, I don't know, buying a high-end sports car just to keep it under a tarp in your garage.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
We're paying for the engineering, for the motion, but we're just too afraid of scratching the paint to actually drive the thing.
Yeah, we're totally seduced by the object itself rather than the function it actually serves.
Right.
We look at a blank book and we see infinite potential, which paradoxically completely paralyzes us from ever making the first mark.
That paralysis is actually the perfect entry point for today's deep dive.
I'm really excited about this one.
Me too. We are looking at a really short but fascinating blog post. It was published on May 31st, 2026 by a writer who goes by the name Ang.
The title is pretty specific, right?
Yeah, it's titled Notes on Typesetting, Part 29, Reflections on a Marco Polo Notebook Collection.
Part 29, so this is a part of a massive series.
A huge, serialized dive into typesetting and design mechanics. But in this specific entry, Ang just zooms in on a passing moment.
It's a completely mundane encounter in the store.
Exactly. Stumbling upon a set of 3 small, spiral-bound notebooks. And it opens up this massive conversation about historical memory, visual design, and, well, why we hoard beautiful things.
It really is a masterclass in reading the physical objects around it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the post is fundamentally part of a series on typesetting, but Ang starts off by heavily analyzing the imagery on the covers.
Right, the visual language is what grabs the attention first.
Yeah, Ang describes the covers as having this minimalist, vibrant art style.
Which is an interesting combination of words.
It is, and specifically calls out a stylized, stained glass approach featuring iconic landmarks.
Which immediately creates a bit of attention.
Exactly what I was thinking. How does a stained glass visual style even interact with typesetting? And to be honest, I'm super hung up on this stained glass comparison in the first place.
Why did that?
Well, stained glass is notoriously heavy, right? It's fragile. It's literally bound to physical, immovable architecture, like massive cathedrals.
Right.
Isn't that the exact opposite of a travel journal? A journal needs to be lightweight, portable, durable.
Yeah.
Why would a designer choose such a rigid metaphor for exploration?
What's fascinating here is how the mechanics of stained glass actually mimic the mechanics of human memory.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah. I mean, you are totally right to point out the physical contradiction, it's heavy versus light. But think about how stained glass actually works mechanically on the human eye.
Okay, I'm following.
It uses thick, rigid, opaque lead lines to separate these bright, translucent fragments of colored glass. The image isn't seamlessly blended.
It's broken up into pieces.
Exactly. It is broken. It forces the viewer's brain to bridge the gaps. Your brain has to actively construct the whole image from those fragments.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
So when a designer uses this in a minimalist way on a tiny spiral notebook cover, they are literally requiring your brain to do half the work. You become an active participant in the image.
So it's not trying to give you like a photorealistic map of Marco Polo's travels. It's simulating how we actually remember things.
Precisely. It's about memory.
Like when you try to remember your last major vacation, you don't remember it like a continuous GoPro video playing in your head.
No, not at all.
Your brain compresses it into snapshots. The bright blue of a specific doorway or the jagged silhouette of a mountain range, it is fragmented and vibrant.
Exactly that. Ang notes that this design distills the essence of the destination. And this is where the typesetting element that you asked about earlier becomes really crucial.
Okay, right, because Ang's whole blog is about typesetting.
Right. In typical souvenir art that uses this vibrant, fragmented style, the typography actually has to act as the lead lines of the stained glass.
Oh, the letters are the structure.
Exactly. The lettering of the location, whether it's Venice or Kashgar, provides that rigid structural anchor.
That makes so much sense.
It allows those chaotic, vibrant colors to exist without just dissolving into complete abstraction. The type tells your brain what memory to load, and the stained glass provides the emotional color of that memory.
The structural element is so clever, the text is the anchor.
It really grounds the whole design.
But let's actually talk about those specific anchors, because having established how this art forces the brain to construct a memory, Aang then looks at the actual locations depicted across the three notebooks.
Right, the specific choices the designer made.
Yeah, from left to right, the covers represent Kashgar, Venice, and the Mongol Empire. And Aang points out that this directly correlates with Marco Polo's actual journal entries.
From his months of travel through Asia along the Silk Road,
Right.
it's three highly specific, monumental nodes in global history. This isn't just, a random assortment of pretty tourist traps.
No, not at all.
It is a highly curated itinerary that charts a profound shift in human understanding.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. I love the idea that the designer split the journey across three distinct covers. It's like a three-act play.
Narrative device, yeah.
But I do have to question the logic of those three specific choices. If you're trying to capture the entirety of the Silk Road, why Venice, Kashgar, and the Mongol Empire?
It's a big question.
Right. Why not Constantinople? Or Jerusalem? And why read it left to right like a book when history is just so much messier than that?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the genius of this design is what Aang calls storytelling to narrate his journeys. Aang explicitly notes that each design is acting as a form of symbolism.
So it's not meant to be a literal map.
Exactly. The designer has taken the unfathomable scale of the Silk Road, like the brutal geography, the clash of massive civilization.
Months of life-threatening travel.
Right. And compressed all of that historical weight into three narrative beats. Act 1 is Venice.
The starting point.
Yes.
Yeah.
It represents the known world, the origin. It's the safe harbor of mercantilism from which the whole epic journey begins.
The departure point where everything is familiar.
Yeah. And then Act 2 is Kashgar.
Okay, so what does Kashgar represent?
This is the deep journey. Kashgar is the ultimate crossroads city. It's this oasis on the very edge of the Taklamakan Desert where countless cultures intersected.
So it's the chaotic middle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It represents the crucible of the journey, the dangerous and transformative middle ground.
Wow.
And then Act 3 is the Mongol Empire.
Which is huge.
It is. This isn't just a city. It represents an entire alien expanse. It symbolizes the arrival at a destination so fundamentally different from Venice that it completely rewrote Marco Polo's entire worldview.
So by turning these three nodes into stylized, minimalist symbols, the designer has basically transformed a simple stationery item into a canvas for, wow, one of the greatest narrative arcs ever recorded.
Exactly. It's massive compression.
You are taking months of travel that literally changed the way the world understood itself, and you're reducing it to three small spirals of paper that you can just hold in one hand.
It's incredibly powerful.
It really highlights how powerful good typesetting and cover design can be. And Aang, having written 29 parts on this topic, clearly sees how the visual narrative flows from left to right.
Which mimics the act of reading itself.
Right. The notebooks basically become a meta-commentary on journaling.
Because Marco Polo's entire legacy is ultimately a journal. His travelogue, the Book of the Marvels of the World, is literally the only reason we even know his story today.
So designing a blank journal to honor one of history's most famous journals is this profound piece of symmetry.
It really is. The designer is inviting the consumer to step into that legacy.
Which perfectly brings us to the twist in Aang's blog post.
Yes. The ending.
Right. We've just spent all this time unpacking the epic storytelling, the cognitive mechanics of minimalist stained glass design, the historical symbolism of Kashgar and the Mongol Empire.
Filling it all up.
Leading up to the ultimate moment of decision, Aang is standing there in the store, holding this brilliantly designed trio of notebooks.
Yeah.
And Aang walks away, no purchase.
A completely rational, yet entirely unexpected conclusion to a design critique.
I have to admit, I was almost frustrated when I read the ending.
Really? Frustrated?
Yeah. After doing such a deep, respectful analysis of the artistry, Aang reveals the reason for leaving them behind. Aang writes, "Judging by the number of unused notebooks I've hoarded over these moons, it's best that I just use what I already have."
It is so brutally honest.
It really is. It snaps the reader instantly from the lofty heights of historical art theory, right back down to the very grounded reality of the modern consumer.
And this raises a really important question about the relationship between the objects we admire and the psychological barriers we create for ourselves.
So what does this all mean for us? Like, why do we do this? We buy these notebooks, we hoard them, we stare at
It's
them.
a real phenomenon.
Is it just that we are victims of good marketing? Or is there a specific psychological block happening here? I was thinking about the concept of loss aversion.
Well, loss aversion is a huge part of this.
Right. If you have a beautifully bound notebook with Venice on the cover in its blank state, it is perfect.
It has infinite potential.
Exactly. And it could hold the next great novel. But the second you write down a grocery list or, a messy half-baked thought on page one, you've ruined the perfection. You've lost the potential.
That is the absolute core of the issue. The fear of the first mark.
It's terrifying.
It is. And the intimidation of the blank page is compounded exponentially by the grandeur of the cover design.
Right. Because of what it represents.
Exactly. If the cover represents Marco Polo's world-altering journey across the Silk Road, you subconsciously feel that your own daily notes are just fundamentally unworthy of those pages.
We don't feel epic enough for the notebook.
You experience loss aversion. You would rather keep the object as a perfect monument to potential than degrade it into a functional tool for your actual messy life.
We turn functional tools into static museum pieces for our home offices.
Yes. And there is a profound irony in Eng's conclusion here. Think about what these notebooks are actually meant to represent.
Marco Polo's journals.
Exactly. They're designed to honor Marco Polo's journals. But a travelogue is a record of action. It's a document of moving forward, of making mistakes, of encountering the unknown, and writing it down in real time.
It's active.
Marco Polo's original notes weren't pristine. They were the byproduct of a grueling, dirty, exhausting reality.
Right. He didn't wait until he found a beautifully typeset, perfectly bound stained glass notebook to start his journey. He just went out and did the thing.
Yet, as Eng realizes in that store, buying these notebooks simply as souvenirs guarantees they will suffer the exact opposite fate of Marco Polo's actual experience.
Oh, wow. That's so true.
They won't be used to document a journey. They will sit untouched on a shelf, hoarded over these moons, completely removed from action. They basically become the antithesis of exploration.
By buying them to preserve their beauty, we actually kill their purpose.
Precisely.
That is a really tough pill to swallow for anyone who loves stationery.
It hurts a little bit to think about.
It does, but it makes Eng's decision to walk away so powerful. It's this quiet rebellion against mindless accumulation.
Yeah.
When Eng says, it's best that I just use what I already have, it is a direct prioritization of the act of journaling over the aesthetic of the journal.
Eng's reflection strips away the romanticism of the physical object and redirects that energy back into the utility of the object.
Which is what a notebook is for.
Right. A notebook, no matter how brilliantly the designer has integrated stained glass and typography, is only as valuable as the thoughts you actually put into it.
Yes.
To hoard them as souvenirs is to fundamentally misunderstand what a journal is. It is a container, not a monument.
And it takes a really keen observer of design, someone who writes 29 distinct essays on the nuances of typesetting, to truly appreciate a design enough to realize they don't actually need to own it to learn from it.
It's a rare skill.
You can just stand in a store, decode the visual language, appreciate how it forces your brain to bridge the gaps in the stained glass, understand the symbolism of Venice and Kashgar, and then just leave it on the shelf.
It's an incredibly mature relationship with consumerism.
It really is.
It separates the appreciation of art from the compulsion to possess it.
Well, this has been quite a journey of our own.
It certainly has.
To quickly map out where this deep dive has taken us today, we started with a very short blog post from May 2026 about typesetting and a trio of spiral-bound notebooks.
Seemingly simple objects.
Right. And through Eng's sharp observations, we broke down the cognitive mechanics of minimalist stained glass design. We explored how 3 simple locations can symbolize the massive narrative weight of Marco Polo's Silk Road travels.
And we confronted the psychology of loss aversion.
Yes. And the very real guilt of being a stationery hoarder.
It just highlights how much depth is hidden in our everyday encounters with commercial design.
It's everywhere.
So, the next time you are standing in a shop, tempted by a beautifully designed souvenir, whether it represents the canals of Venice, the markets of Kashgar, or simply a coffee shop down the street, take a moment.
Just pause.
Ask yourself if you are buying it as a tool to document your life, or if you are just paying to keep a beautiful potential locked away under a tarp.
It is so easy to fall in love with the promise of the blank page. But as we've learned today, the real adventure only begins when you overcome the fear of the first mark and actually ruin that perfect emptiness.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. Which leaves me with one final thought for you to mull over today. If a designer were to study your life and create a three-part minimalist stained glass notebook collection based on the iconic landmarks of your journey so far, what three locations would be on those covers?